The Fast and Furious franchise has never been short on entertainment, and neither has it ever fallen short of springing up surprise deaths of major characters. The recent release of Fast X also plays along a similar strategy, and there is a massive twist in the climactic moments of the movie, where Jacob is seemingly dead in an act of ultimate sacrifice. However, if you are a long-term fan of the franchise, you are quite aware that deaths don't mean anything unless they are explicitly shown on screen. In this video, we will discuss the chances of John Cena's character actually being killed off and what it means for the franchise.
Piece by piece.
What's up?
Who was Jacob Toretto, and how did he become such an integral part of the family? Jacob Toretto was the middle child of Jack Toretto, and Dom was his elder brother, and Mia was his sister. He lived his entire childhood under the shadow of Dom, but his life took a turn for the worse after a fatal accident on the tracks got his father killed. Dom blamed him for their father's death and challenged him to a race. If Jacob lost the race, he would have to leave LA, and as luck would have it, he lost to Dom. Later, he worked briefly for Mr. Nobody, but Jacob went rogue after he was brainwashed by Otto, the son of a wealthy billionaire. He worked with Otto, and they even extracted Cypher from an aircraft where Mr. Nobody was taking her in. However, they were unable to take Project Ares after Mr. Nobody divided it into two before going down with the plane. After a long history of showdowns with Dom and his men, Jacob finally realized that Otto and Cypher were his enemies all along. The brothers mended their relationship, and Jacob was drafted back into the family, which he continued to protect even in the recent release. How does Jacob die in the movie? The fans love nothing more than a transformed character, and Jacob gives them exactly that, after having changed drastically from his days of siding with Cypher. In Fast X, Jacob is introduced fairly early once the agency starts a crackdown on rounding up Dom's family members, especially his son, Little Brian. Jacob is ordered by Dom to protect his son, and he arrives just in time as the forces break into Brian's residence. After a fierce showdown, Jacob takes Little Brian on a journey to meet his father safely, and his side as an adorable uncle was a heartwarming moment in the movie. His plan to bring the child to Dom works just fine, except that Dante Reyes is far too shrewd a villain to be kept hanging in the dark. In an epic climactic car chase sequence, Reyes' men track down Jacob and Little Brian, and the two make a run for it in Jacob's newly modified car fitted with various explosives and missiles. Even Dom catches up to his brother and his son after his iconic car drop from an aircraft, and they are left on the streets, struggling to get away from the hordes of Reyes' cars and men chasing after them. Dante Reyes even manages to kidnap Little Brian from Jacob's car, but a near impossible stunt from Dom ensures that he retrieves his son safely in his own car. However, their troubles are far from over, with a large group of cars speeding up towards them. As the Toretto family is grossly outnumbered, Jacob pulls off an unforgettable move. He bids his brother farewell and drives straight into the group of cars, triggering a massive explosion that takes care of a major chunk of the enemy forces. This move gives Dom and his son enough time to escape temporarily, and the massive flames and destruction suggest that Jacob has been reduced to ashes following his heroic sacrifice. What does his death mean for the movie and the storyline going ahead? From the very first scene of Fast X, there has been a constant attempt to portray Dante Reyes as one of the deadliest villains in the franchise. He thrives in chaos and death, and his lust for revenge against Dom, whom he blames for his father's death, goes to some crazy proportions. The guy is able to plan ahead of his opponents, and he is so unpredictable that he cannot easily be lured into a trap. Jacob's death was essential to portray just how formidable Reyes is as an enemy. Jacob and Dom were driven into a situation where the former's ultimate sacrifice was probably the only way for Dom to escape safely with his son, and it shows that even the strongest and most impactful characters are not safe from the wrath of Dante Reyes. It also lays the brickwork for the upcoming projects in the franchise. Now Dom has more reasons to get back at this crazy villain. For a man who lives and dies for his family, Dom will have plenty to settle for his brother's death, son's kidnapping, and the framing of some other family members. Besides, let's not forget The quartet of Roman, Tej, Han and Ramsay also seemingly die in a plane crash triggered by Dante. Of course, their deaths are far more ambiguous because we don't get to see if they had a chance to bail out of the aircraft at the last moment. Either way, Dom's family has been attacked and ravaged, and it might be payback time going ahead. Whose idea was it to have Jacob's character killed? It is not every day that a character played by a global superstar like John Cena is killed off in a franchise where he has barely started his journey in F9. The fans were shocked to witness Jacob giving up his life for the family, and recent interviews have revealed that the idea came straight from the top. The director of the movie, Louis Leterrier, who was drafted in after the long-time director of the franchise, Justin Lin, dropped out of the project, came up with a plan to create an impactful climax. Lewis claimed that it required some convincing to persuade John Cena into giving in to the idea, but he was soon on board, realizing the gravity of his actions. The actor later stated that he was up for the whole thing as soon as he was explained the potential of his move for the film. Is Jacob really dead, or is it just a trick to announce a grand comeback? You got to admit that the Fast and Furious franchise doesn't exactly function by physics theories or rationality. There have been several instances where characters have been shown to have survived in the most impossible situations, and we, the fans, believe that no one is dead in this franchise till we see a dead body. Sometimes, even then, a character makes a comeback. Previously, we have seen Letty and Han's cars exploding, and deaths have been faked all the time. Now, Jacob's death did seem quite convincing because there was no way to get out of that massive explosion alive. We must also consider that the franchise is slowly nearing its end, and there might be far too little room in the plot to bring back someone like Jacob from the dead. And besides, his death will be the motivation for Dom and his men to lead the revenge charge, and if he suddenly reappears, it would be rather anticlimactic. However, we expect Roman, Tej, Ramsay and Han to be alive because all we are shown is a burst of fire on the other side of the mountain. Even Dom, who is stuck in a precarious near-death situation in the cliffhanger ending, is surely going to make it out alive, and Jacob's death will probably turn out to be the event that triggers them all to settle scores in their next encounter with Dante Reyes. Anything is possible in the Fast and Furious franchise, and all we can do at this point is speculate on the possibilities. Even John Cena is speculating about the chances of his return to the franchise, and he said during an interview that he hopes there is some way for him to be back. As of now, we have to play the long waiting game to find out the actual fate of Jacob and the nail-biting storyline that has been left half-baked for the upcoming sequel. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.